passion behind watchmaking comes from my first Seiko. My dad bought me when I was about 12 or 13 years old. Beautiful black IP plated with a royal blue subdial. I wish I could find that exact model again, but I can't. But that's where I just fell in love with the mechanics behind it. I think I must have been 12. Hi, I'm Shami. I run and founded a company called Omologato. It's a watch company based around my passion, which is motorsport. My love of cars came again from my dad. He came from India in 1965. He must have been about 17 years old and he had no job. So he started at a car showroom washing British Leyland stuff. But he actually worked his way up from being the guy who washed the car to the guy who actually bought a car. And he bought a 1974 Mercedes. And my earliest recollection of him being proud of effectively a material item, but for him it was a breakthrough in his career. It was a great sort of reward, if you like, of you've worked bloody hard to get here and now he's got something to show for it. And I think my automotive genes kicked in probably at the age of 4 or 5 years old. Omologato started almost 10 years ago now. And it basically came out of the love of watches. And I made watches for other brands for many, many years under private labels. So, for instance, if a team won at Le Mans on a Sunday, they'd call me up on a Monday and say, we need 100 watches made for our guests or executives or whoever. And I'd go away, design them within about a week. And then a week later, they'd approve it, we'd deliver them. And it became a memento for them. Unfortunately, the market realized what I was doing and how I made my money, and competition came in, and so I decided I had to start or do something myself. So I said, well, I'm going to design a couple of watches and see whether we can start our own brand. I started with just an online store, which had 30 days free trial because I had no money to start an online store. I got a friend of mine who's very good with Photoshop to do the first 2 designs. So the Tuesday after the June the 5th, I put the website live, nothing. Wednesday, nothing, and we'd gone down to 0 money now. Thursday night, about 7 o'clock, I took £1,000. Bearing in mind that was only 6 days after the initial idea of let's start Omologato. Coming up with a lovely watch design, people buying them, people wearing them and stopping me at Goodwood or stopping me at a racetrack, Indianapolis as well. I had a couple of guys stop me and say, I've got one of your watches on. That feeling is wonderful. But getting involved with sponsorship is probably the most exciting thing that I've added on to the company. Whenever I sponsor something, I live the subject matter. So today, in actual fact, we're doing the La Carrera Panamericana in Mexico. The reason I'm doing it is because we have a watch called Panamericana, so there's no point in having a watch called the Panamericana when you haven't done the Panamericana. Exactly like the Indianapolis, exactly like all the other watches that I have, you know. So sponsorship brings authenticity to what I do, and that's really important for me. Nobody needs a watch. No one needs a watch. So if I said to you, do you want to buy a watch? You go, no, I don't need one. Do you want to buy a watch that raced the 24-hour Le Mans? One of only 24 in the world that were inside the LMP2 car that we raced at the Centenary, and it's called the Centenaire, and on the case back it says it. Suddenly, there's the story. 17 years old, my brother and I were at a dealership in West London. As like young teenagers, you can't sleep, so you go out for a drive at sort of midnight, that kind of stuff. We went out to this Porsche showroom. I had my head against the window thinking, oh, that's beautiful. And we got moved on by the police. And the policeman came along. He said, what are you 2 lads doing on the forecourt? And I went, well, I'd love this car. And he goes, you'll never have one. Now come on, get off the showroom. And I thought, really? So this is my desk. This is where I do most of my work, right here. And right over there, right in front of me is my Porsche 911. It's not a material thing for me. The day I went to pick it up, I actually spent about 15 minutes in the car crying because the journey of, not having anything, I lost a lot. I lost a hell of a lot. I had to hand my previous car back to the finance company because I couldn't afford it. And, and I'd always dreamt of having this particular model, actually. It wasn't just a 911, it was this model that I'd always wanted. And the day I went to go and pick it up, I was, like I said, I was in the car for 15 minutes. Even the salesman said, "You all right?" And I went, "No, you're going to have to leave me alone a bit." So this, to me, looking at it, is not to say, "Hey, look at me, I'm the big guy, I got the material thing, I got the bit." It's not, there are wilder cars in London. But to me, it reminds me every day that, you know what, that guy with £9.61 in the bank, he's achieved. What's to come in the future? My ambition is to get into IMSA racing in North America. We're talking to an LMDH team. I really want to do that. I think the Americans have fallen in love with the brand, and so that's really good. So I want to go to IMSA racing, LMDH. We are in advanced talks with the FIA. Finals have been sort of agreed, and we're talking to them, and we've done the design. So you probably will see an announcement with us in the FIA next year, which will be great. And then we're expanding the brand through a lot of FIA approved tracks. We already sponsor a handful of them, but that'll grow a lot within the next 3 or 4 years. We've got a lot of expansion through racetracks and teams as well. So I'm Shami Kalra, and I'm the founder of Omologato.